Are you a cat lover who loves the idea of owning your own cat cafe? Then this is the podcast for you. Join me, Angeli Rodriguez, owner of the Woody Whisker Cat Cafe and author of the book Drinks and Whiskers, as I walk you through my tips and tricks to help you open a successful cat cafe. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Drinks and Whiskers podcast, the place to be to get the inside scoop on what it's like to open and run a successful cat cafe. I'm your host, Angeli Rodriguez, and I'm so excited to introduce today's guest on the podcast, Dr. Heather Shea. Dr. Shea is an intuitive coach, an animal communicator, energy work practitioner, author, and teacher. She has 30 years of executive leadership and coaching experience across 6 continents, delivering effective results for Fortune 100 CEOs, world leaders, and executive teams, as well as household names in business, politics, and entertainment. Her unique background, training, and multidimensional capacities enable her to guide both humans and animals in creating shifts in their lives on a practical, spiritual, and cellular level. She has a Doctor of Education in Organizational Leadership from Meridian University, is an ordained interfaith minister, is a hypnotist, a certified intuitive consultant, past life practitioner, a certified psychic medium, a Reiki master, animal Reiki master, a graduate of All Life Communications Animal Mastery Program, an Akashic Records practitioner, people mom, cat mom, and so much more. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shea, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It is wonderful and honor. And I love this show and I love everybody who's listening. And thank you. And cat cafes are fabulous. And I love to see them growing and people learning about them and sharing this information. So thank you
That's
for having me.
awesome. Thank you so much. So, how did you get started in your amazing career?
So I was born in New York and what I call myself is like an everyday mystic. So even
Mhm.
as when I was born, I was out there talking to the bunnies and talking to the birds and kind of like a little Disney princess.
I love
And
it.
fortunately, my parents were okay with that, and they didn't stop me. And a lot of children, or particularly women, people go,
Mhm.
"Well, you can't be talking to animals," and I'm just like, "Well, I I am," and so
Mhm.
it's always part of my life. And early
Mhm.
on, I went to school, and being from the New York area, I got kind of pulled into show business. So my
Mhm.
earlier career was in theater, and I have a long background in theater, including the Actors Studio. And then one day decided I want to get out of theater a little bit to get more of a business background. And I started going
Mhm.
through business. And that's when I got into the field of leadership, and particularly women in leadership and helping women in the leadership field. And there's a long story there. Then once upon a time, as you've mentioned a number of times, there was a pandemic. I found
Yes.
myself, I was CEO for a very large organization and had a global ministry, and found myself at home. And people started calling me saying, I've just gotten a dog, I've just gotten a cat, because more and more people were adopting during that time period.
Right.
And they would say, I have my dog from a shelter, I don't know his background. Or I have my cat and I don't know their background. Or my
Right.
guinea, or my horse. And I found during that time period, more and more people were calling me about their animals. And then more and more people were calling me about, I've lost my job. How do I
Mhm.
start a business? And so I
Mhm.
started pulling together all my years of business experience
Right.
in coaching people, instead of coaching CEOs of global corporations, coaching people who are in what I'll call career transitions or possibilities about, hey, why don't you open a cat cafe? Or why don't you open a bakery?
Yeah.
One of my clients was a CEO of a pharmaceutical company who opened a bakery. So, it's time to reinvent yourself, and
Yes.
also started working more with animals. Long story, but that's the short version of a long
That's
story.
beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So, what do you find most exciting about what you do, helping people and
Twofold.
animals? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, people and animals. So I'll start with
Yeah.
the animals.
Okay.
Uh, I really love working with animals. I mean, it's such a joy. I had somebody recently come to me and go, my cat just won't use the litter box.
Mhm.
And that is it becomes a problem for the person, or and eventually for the cat.
Mhm.
And the cat just looked at me and just went like kind of like this. And it turned out the person had
Um,
changed the litter. And so the litter was bothering the cat. And I told the
oh,
person, just change the litter and get a softer litter. That was all it was.
oh
But
wow.
and I said, when I'm talking to the cat, it's telepathy.
Of course.
But it's so
Yes.
much easier to say it's the litter than you're
Yes.
at the health problem where you have to get rid of the cat or something like that. So I'm able to help people and
Hmm.
their cat or their animal work better together. And sometimes it's a very simple thing. I was working with a cat who was marking, and the dad was really kind of concerned, obviously. Uh, but his brother had just passed, and he missed his cat brother and felt very responsible for taking care of his cat mom and his cat sister and brother. And so he was just kind of nervous. And as we were talking, and we let him know and talking, uh,
Yeah.
and let him know that he was fine and he was going to be okay. And within one session, he was fine.
Oh, that's
Sometimes
awesome.
it's listening to the animal. So
Yes.
that's what's exciting to me. It's listening to the animal or
Hmm.
the pet or the family member,
Hmm.
and then being able to work with the person, and then the person can figure it out. I don't usually need to tell the mom or the dad what to do. They once they know what the animal's thinking, um, then they know how to solve the
Yes.
challenge, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the animal side of it. Then I love working with people, and I was working with somebody the other day who, again, during this time was going through a career transition, which is not uncommon.
Right.
And they had owned a business, loved owning a business, and they were kind of thinking, what am I going to do next? And we were talking, and it was like, well, and they had had a yoga studio, and so they were used to having a small business and people coming. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, what about a cat cafe? It's like,
Oh.
ooh, and then could we have bunnies too? I'm like, yeah, I think you could have bunnies too. Can and so it was just fun to open up the possibility. And so part of my work as an intuitive coach is working with people where they are on
Yes.
themselves. And I think the same thing happens in the cat cafe business.
Yes.
You may have gone through, do I want to do this? Is it right? Is it
Exactly. You have so many doubts and like am I try it's just some of us have trouble trusting our intuition, right? And we're getting this message and we hear it, but it's like, well, is it really true? Right? So that's usually what us non-super intuitives kind of have to deal with. Um, what's the most important lesson that you have learned in your business so far, in your many different businesses?
I think there's a few things. We'll start with intuition.
Okay.
I actually teach intuition.
Oh, great.
Uh, So if you know something, trust in yourself.
Yeah.
I know I want to work with cats. I know I want to work with animals. You
Hmm.
know that, you know? And there's a difference between a feeling. I have a feeling I'd like to get a farm. I'll tell you
Hmm.
the feeling I have. I do not want to farm. I love animals, that I know, but
Yeah.
perhaps, I will work on a farm with people. But getting really listening to yourself
Hmm.
and trusting. And so I think that's the important thing for people. And the old expression, do what you love, the money will follow. It's a
Yes.
little harder for the money to follow these days. So I'll just go
Hmm.
back to do what you love.
Hmm.
I mean, I sit here today after the pretty outrageous career that I've had, that you've mentioned, and I'm going, I get to talk to dogs. And I get to, and I'm gonna go hug a bunch of kitties in the shelter today. And it just makes me happy. And the other thing that is happening now is it's okay to change careers.
Yes,
And it's
that is
okay
true.
to reinvent yourself these
Hmm.
days. A lot of people are.
I think that's wonderful. Now moving on from the most important lesson, what is like your advice for those interested in starting a cat cafe?
Just do it. The other advice is it is a business.
Hmm.
So I know you've had a business coach on. I do business coaching. You know,
Hmm.
set up what kind of business is it? Is it an LLC? What's the financing? But really look at it in terms of, oh no, it's just let's get some cats.
Yes.
It really is. And if you've talked about that, what's your marketing, what's your strategy, what's your financing, what are the
Hmm.
legal implications? So first and foremost, uh, it's a business. And you really have to love it and see it as a business because it is, especially since it's entrepreneurial it's work.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And also a lot of like problem solving and figuring things out. And my cat Sephora wants to say hi, so I'm just going to move my, come on, say hello. There she is. Sorry. She's just right here, so I couldn't ignore her.
Need to be sorry at all.
I love it. I love it.
That's why we do what we do.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I get to have my home office with my cat right next to me all the time. Um, Thank you. This is amazing. Do you have anything else that you want to share with our listeners about your business and how they can reach you in case anybody would like to have you as a coach or request your services as a Reiki animal Reiki master for their cats at the cafe?
Sure. And I'll just say one more thing about cat cafes for people starting is
Yes.
to really think about it is a cat cafe.
Yes.
And you've had people talk about the environment, but that when you come in to have, I would say it's good coffee, but it recognizes there's a cafe to it. And the
Hmm.
cafes that I love are an environment like the one here in Denver where people can go. It's like going to a cafe and their
Yes.
cats around. And so more and more people go there as part of their lifestyle.
Hmm.
So, what kind of place do you want um, to have? What does it feel like? What's the environment for the cats and the people? So that would just be one thing because some cafes are more cat focused for good reason. Just remember the people side. Um,
Yes.
the other thing is some cafes add additional services. So, like ours here in Boulder has a tarot reader coming in.
Oh, fun. That's
So
different.
something that I could offer
Hmm.
um, if you would like, before a cafe, is I can come in and talk to the cats. I can talk to the cats before they come, or if there's an issue with cat. I work with cats in shelters to help them
Hmm.
find homes, so I can find out, how they're doing and have them more ready for adoption. I can
Hmm.
also, if people come in and want to bring a picture of their cat, I can do readings for cats. So that's a little bit different, but to have access to an animal communicator, I can also do it on Zoom. I
Okay.
can also do animal Reiki. So I can, like today after this call, I'm going to be working with a doggy daycare,
Oh.
and I have about 20 dogs, 25 dogs that I'll be working with. And it's fun when I do energy work with them. I call it like a puddle of poodles. There's a lot of, and I'll go in and they'll be running around, and after about a half an hour, they're all kind of like, so, to work with me uh, on your cats and settling down your cats to work
Hmm.
individually with your cats or for people if they want help with their business or figuring out is this the right business for me right now or should I expand my business. So that's the how. The other how is Heather at everydayknowings.com,
Hmm.
and knowings is with an S, no wings, everyday knowings, the idea that we all know this stuff. So I'm really working with people to have them be more comfortable with what they already know. And I'm based in Boulder, Denver, Colorado area, and I work all over the world. So
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Shea, for your time and for sharing all of the wonderful lessons that you've learned in your amazing career and life. And thank you for coming on the Drinks and Whiskers podcast. And you seem to be like the perfect person to help people get started on their cat cafe dreams. So thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I don't normally do this, but I had to do this little extra recording because after the interview today with Dr. Shea, something really, truly wonderful and special happened. Um, we were having a conversation about how well everything went. And Sephora, my cat, decided to come up to Dr. Shea and to the computer, right? And she was just nudging on the computer, and she normally does not do that, but Dr. Shea actually did a reading on her, and it was the most beautiful thing ever. She said that Sephora wanted to come say hello because she knew that she could speak to her, and that she just wanted to let her know that she's super happy, and that she's doing great. And you have no idea, like I burst out crying because Sephora had a little bit of a more traumatic background. We don't really know a lot about what happened to her, and the fact that Dr. Shea was able to tell me that she's happy meant a lot to me because I'm worrying a lot about Sephora, just, her little health problems, and she's getting a little bit older, and we just want to make sure that she has the best life possible. So I just wanted to share that little bit, that Dr. Shea is so talented and so amazing and so wonderful, and she gave me a whole lot of peace of mind. And then it actually made me cry. Like, I was bawling. It was an ugly cry. I'm not going to lie. But she was so gracious and so sweet and so wonderful. And she gave me so much peace of mind, just knowing that my cat is happy and that she feels like she's at home. And it just made me really happy. So I just wanted to add that little bit to the end of the podcast episode. You'll probably notice sometime in the middle of the episode that Sephora actually comes down, and she normally doesn't do this when I'm recording a podcast. So the fact that she came down, I think, is something pretty special, and says a lot about Dr. Shea. So I just wanted to add that. So thank you for listening. I hope this is helpful. And if anybody out there is looking for somebody to help coach them towards any type of dream, not just a cat cafe dream, but any type of dream, I highly recommend Dr. Shea. She knew exactly what I needed to hear today. So thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Drinks and Whiskers podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe, and leave an honest review. If you want more information, you can purchase the Drinks and Whiskers book right now on Amazon.com, or you can reach me at Angeli@wittywhisker.com. Now it's time to get out there and start your cat cafe dream. How will you warm hearts with a drink and a whisker?